Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile. That's a new season of Apex. I just finished doing my point matches, and I'm gonna go ahead and go over a few of them. Um, as for my losses, some of them weren't too bad. Making some dumb mistakes here and there, and then essentially after a few losses, I went ahead and changed my box again. I went ahead and dropped Angelica. Um, Unfortunately, just having a pure support type character as a faction buffer just does not work, and I just don't have an opportunity to really. There's not really a good opening to grab her. So I dropped her. The only way I can really use Angelica is after she gets her new class. She does get a new class eventually that gives her a unique ability, and she gets an AoE heal. The AoE heal really kind of fleshes her out pretty well, because then she can at least do something. Because you can't really use her for offense at all. I also went ahead and dropped Tsubame. That was kind of a long time coming. The problem with Tsubame compared to my other assassins is she's very immobile. Like, she can move 5 spaces using her one of her skills, but that's just not enough. All my other assassins simply can go farther, and you really need long legs to counteract a lot of the meta here. I get the idea around her kit. Her kit is all about stealth. The problem is stealth is completely worthless in the meta because everything is AoE. So a lot of times I end up just finding myself just having her hang back and not actually be able to do anything with her. Also, I don't. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't use her stealth mechanic, and the AoE meta is so strong right now that I can't get closer with her. So I went ahead and dropped her, and I went ahead and swapped back in Rosa CL, mainly Rosalia, sorry, to essentially get another long leg character in. And I also brought in Sakura. She got some pretty decent AoE kit and stuff like that. Also, when I was doing my very first match of this, you might note I have a lot more spears now. My first match, I ended up having a tank going up against a lot of swords, so I kind of wanted to vary up the type a little bit. Also, I just really want to use Sakura at some point. So, been doing this, and I've been doing a lot better. Anyway, so I went ahead and banned the Juggler first, as usual. That's pretty much standard here. As you can see, people are starting to use Albedo. Albedo's been doing fantastic. They banned my Zerda, not surprised. They take Landius. So one thing I started doing is banning Luna, because Luna by herself is not a big deal, but she can set up high mobility for characters like Rian. So I have to keep that in mind. Also, she tends to negate magic damage, which I tend to rely on with characters like Young Jessica. Also, I got rid of TRs because I don't like dealing with the passive heal. I took Albedo. I've been taking Albedo first, just to kind of see how this is going to play out. Overall, it's not too bad. Instead of relying on a faction buffer, I've been relying on Sophia, which tends to work out better for her because she tends to work better with higher defense. They banned my Rosalia and my Deedlets. Not really. There's nothing really too surprising about it. They usually go after my long legs first and my assassins. They went with their Rosalia. Went ahead and took out 2 of their. They only had 2 healers. Yeah, they only had 2 actual main healers. They had Lycoris and Sophia, so I banned both of them. So now the only healing they have is passive, and that's depending on what characters they pick. I grabbed my Sophia, so this kind of ensures that I at least have some sort of buff to put on everybody. I'm a bit worried about grabbing a healer so early, but it tends to work out a lot better. My opponent went ahead and banned my spears, which is a smart decision. They took Rachel, which is pretty much the closest thing they're going to have to a healer. I went ahead and banned their Yulia to get rid of their other potential healer, and get rid of their one assassin. And I went ahead and took Illustrial. This map is not the best for Illustrial, but it's good enough to do what I need to do with her. What they ban? It looks like they banned my Lycoris and my Sholinka. They took Yusuke. I was like, okay, that's fine. I went ahead and banned the rest of their AoE dark stuff. pretty much I was like, I'm okay with them having Albedo, and I'm okay with them having Mystery Knight. Mystery Knight's a little dangerous for Albedo because Albedo is not as tanky against magic, and she's technically a sword type. Her troops I use are spears, but once they get through the spears, she gets really, really shredded by Mystery Knight. I took Young Jessica. I actually have a new staff on her. It doesn't give any bonus intelligence like most staffs, but it does give +1 range whenever you're not in defensive terrain. So essentially, her single target spells are now 6 range when she's in siege mode. And then for my last pick, I went ahead and took Freya, which is something I seem to be doing more with these past few matches. Is I go double tank, mainly just to get faction buff coverage, but also it kind of gives me a little bit of flexibility as far as just being able to move forward safely. As long as I take out their AoE or minimize their AoE, I can kind of just do whatever I want with this type of setup. As for our opponent, the Mystery Knights I've been running into have been kind of weird. They have sorceresses, which only is helpful with Broken Spear. I don't think it actually helps with Siphon. I'm fairly certain it doesn't work with Siphon, but I'm actually maybe there's something else about it. But yeah, I was a little confused about that. It also kind of reduces their mobility because unicorns allow them to ignore terrain. This Rosalia is going Griffin Knights, which is pretty common. Standard kit for Rosalia. This Knight of Mystery does not have an AoE, by the way, just Broken Sphere and Siphon and Backtrack. Rachel, mostly standard kit, got Lightning Strike, her 3-cost skill. Yusuke did not go faction buff, so he has no way of actually buffing himself. But otherwise, this is standard Yusuke. Went with Spirit Gun for some reason. And the Landius is standard. Nothing too special there. Like I mentioned before, Young Jessica I always build a single target. Sometimes I use her as healer if I need to. But with that staff now, I have 6 range with her AoE. Or not her AoE, but her single target. Which actually kind of, since she gets extra damage based off how far away she is, it kind of minimizes the fact that she doesn't have to get int from her staff. Standard Freya with faction buff. Albedo, I tend to go block. Some people take her passive fixed damage counter type thing, but I like taking block because it just maximizes her defense against melee. And then her armor is the Areolis, I think, or don't remember what it's called. The one that gives you wind wall, which protects against ranged. Illustrial, I went ranged, pure range with Jade Storm, her 3-cost skill, and then of course Sophia's all standard. Alright, let me turn on that, and let's go. So Albedo is really neat because her just her base talent gives her a block range of 1 ring, which is not something you usually see with a passive guard. And she also guards against magic and physical. So right now I'm kind of spreading everyone out because I'm a little. The main thing I'm concerned about, of course, is Rachel, because I wasn't sure. Because right now, thanks to the mobility increase, does she have Breeze? I think she has Breeze. Yeah, this isn't from anything else. So yeah, I think she has Breeze. This is a Breeze Rachel. All right. So yeah, with the Breeze, she can easily get in range and hit everybody with her 3-cost skill, which is going to hurt a lot. There's not much I can do about it. I have mass heal, and that's about it. Just doing the heal so I can get the Sophia buffs up. And she's just getting up the sword. And then faction buff. Alright, so right off the bat, Yusuke charges in, no faction buff, so all he has is his transformation buff. So Dark Tincture will actually, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to negate healing, and you can't dispel it. But my Albedo actually has the, what was it, the blood crystal or whatever it's called, that makes her immune to that. So that's actually something that helps out quite a bit, so I don't have to deal with heal negation. Also, she just tanked it all like it was nothing, as you can tell. So I went and backed up to maximize my range, attacking at 6 range, doing cleanse. I could have probably done it at the normal range, at 5 range, but... So I'm not sure why he didn't... I don't know what his plan was, to be honest. I went ahead and just ran in with Illustrial attacking in force means I can bypass guard. Jade Storm 3-cost skill actually turns 2 random buffs into a debuff. Also, she gets a damage bonus for every converted buff, so she just shreds people. So I just went ahead and ran in and just took out their only other healer. The only heals they have now is from Siphon and Rosalia's sword stuff and Chivalry. Not sure if Chivalry was necessary here, but they went ahead and unloaded everything to take out my Illustrial. I was okay with the trade because right now I'm in a lead. I'm 4-on-3 right now. So max movement, magic. I think the thing that makes actually what makes the sorceresses really dangerous is, I mean, usually you go unicorns, which obviously crystal molders can hold against unicorns pretty well, but against sorceresses, there's not much you can do about it. So it's just raw magic just hitting her. So it's not too bad. It's actually kind of neat. Did get a random debuff, which is just silence, but I don't really care. Went ahead and healed just to fix it and reapply buffs. I did get a lot of Tenyo headdresses recently, so a lot of my healers are now wearing that, so it gives random buffs all the time. I don't like the randomness of it, but it's practically the best support helmet, so I went ahead and passed in place just to get to 2 movement so I can move up a little bit. And I did get Breeze proc, so I went ahead and moved up again and attacked from range. So cleanse, wear him down a bit, and moved up. Albedo's buff is worn off, so I'm just moving in, but since she has a 1-ring passive guard, it's pretty safe for me just to move up. So Sword of Protection. So yeah, they backed away to get the cooldowns worn off, but yeah, against Freya it does nothing. My opponent actually went uh-oh at this point with the emotes. So I was like, alright, well, free kill. And this time, in melee range, using Siphon, but Albedo does tons of counter-attack damage. So, pretty straightforward. Alright, continuing on. So we're going up against a PDF file, which is dangerous because they're PDF files. So this one actually opened with banning my Albedo right off the bat. So this forces me to pick Freya, which actually kind of makes things easier for me, because then I'm like, alright, well at least I'm guaranteed to have coverage for Origin buffs. I banned their Juggler because I don't want to deal with Juggler. I didn't really go over the last opponent's box that much. This one, it looks like only 2 healers. Well, 3 if you count Young Jessica. Couple of assassins, some dark, some time. It's a little bit of everything. Kind of big threats, I guess, is just the Elwyn. Since I'm using Freya, of course. My Freya, of course, is still Spears. Her SP class is technically available, but you can't get the material yet. I believe, as of recording this, it should be tomorrow. That it should go up. For you guys, it'll probably be yesterday, because I think this video is coming up on Monday, and I believe it's gonna the final shop has the material you need to get the SP stuff started for Freya. Yes, I'm going to convert her into SP class because it just makes her better. So yeah, good stuff. Went with Freya, of course. They banned my Deedlit and Lycoris. They take Albedo. I was like, okay. I'm kind of glad some people are swapping out Landius for Albedo. I mean, it's a little annoying since I did get Spears for countering Landius. But Albedo is easier to deal with since she can't counter at range. I went ahead and banned their Zerda and their Rian because Rian is a pain. Take Sophia to get my coverage for buffs. They're going after my long range and legs. They take Lycoris. This gives her buff coverage if she needs it. I went ahead and took out Young Jessica and and is it Lania? How do you pronounce her name? I think it's Lania. 1 second. Sorry about that, Liana. That's gonna drive me nuts. I use her very often too. It just the names went blank on me. Anyway, I went and took out their other 2 healers to force the Lycoris to be support, or not, and just have no heals. I took Illustrial again, same reason, kind of like the long legs and having the ability to on this map. There's enough for me to work with to bypass guard. And with all these casters, this is a perfect time to take assassins. I went ahead and take out their Elwyn and their Yusuke, mainly to also take out their any other potential faction buffs, to kind of force them in a certain direction. At this point, since I see all the squishy casters, I went and took Sherlinka. They ban the rest of my long leg supports and AoEs. They take Mystery Knight. I was like, okay. I've been seeing Mystery Knight more often, which is a little shocking. At this point, there was 4 choices. I went ahead and banned the remaining faction buffers to ensure they get no additional faction buffs. This ensures that Mystery Knight has no faction buff. It's essentially the only faction buffs they have is 2 characters with a dark faction buff, which does buff 3 of them, and it's going to be soon 4 of them. I was a little split between taking Liana or Shaltir. I've been kind of wary about using Shaltir, but I really want to try to use her, so I'm going to use her for this match. And then they take... what is her name? I knew her name for a second. Yeah, Farrakwa. Alright, so our opponents. This one's more of a standard Knight of Mystery. Still no Unicorns, went with Steel Wing Warriors instead. So, Thunder Zone, Broken Spear, Backtrack, the standard kit. This Albedo went with Battle Cry, which I'm not sure why. This Lycoris looks like she is going full on offense debuff. Bozel is has a single target skill of all things, but also went faction buff. And then the Farrakwa here is mostly standard. No maneuver, plunder, and reinforcements. So, pretty standard there. The thing I was a little concerned about is reinforcements, or not reinforcement, but maneuver, because that lets you swap positions. So, it could juggle my tank around. Alright, so we've got Sheltier. She is wearing boots. Also, when she's at full health, she does get additional 2 movement. So, she has 6 movement just as long as she's full health. So, I went ahead and moved her a little bit just to kind of trigger her physical barrier. I wasn't exactly sure what exactly the plan here was. I really needed to see where the Knight of Mystery went and kind of get myself sort of set up based off where my opponent is moving. So, my opponent's being super aggressive. Alright. Alright, Lycoris went ahead and is actually putting out terrain, which is a little annoying, but not the end of the world. So with everything shifting down this way, I shifted my formation down to match it. I was going to move Sherlinka last to kind of decide where exactly I want to play around. With Illustrial and being able to move through difficult terrain without penalty, she's able to kind of get to anywhere she needs to go. All of this down here is grasslands and forest. In the middle, and there's patches of snow. But down here, it's forest and grasslands, which means I can bypass guard with her. And then Sherlinka, after she teleports, is just going to have 6 movement. And as long as I'm attacking something that has an ally nearby, I'll be able to attack troops directly. So even though Lycoris here is holy, and obviously my troops are demon, Sherlinka herself will be able to just kill Lycoris by herself. Alright, so I counted steps with Mystery Knight here. And essentially, I was keeping count of how far she can get and do Thunder Zone, because there's a chance she could do Thunder Zone on Sherlinka and just weaken her super badly. So this was kind of the range here. This line here is pretty much the range of her AoE. Goes out 3 rings. Alright, and with this, I was like, alright, well, I can move in, go ahead and kill your Lycoris. So now they officially have no heals. Went ahead and moved into trees to get more defense. Obviously, Mystery Knight's going to get the kill here, but I can self-raise. And I was like, alright, well this gives me an opportunity to go ahead and take out Bozel with Jade Storm. I'm glad I kept Illustrial in. She's been doing really well. So Farrakha went ahead and went straight for Illustrial for some reason, not sure why. And then decided to attack Shalinka instead. Used up all of her skills, swapped positions, and that's pretty much it. So at this point I'm going around the terrain, there's no point in me taking the extra damage. This was just a raw attack. When Albedo raw attacks, it does not trigger her Overseer of the Guardians. It also that's why if you want Albedo to attack, you need to use Impure Desire, because that makes it so you actually apply your defense to your attack. But just attacking by itself, all she did was remove some debuffs, and that's about it. Or remove some buffs, and that was about it. So I was like, alright. I was hoping to get in range a little bit closer with Sophia here, but I miscounted the steps, so I could not actually get a heal off on Illustrial. I mean, even with a heal, probably wouldn't have saved her. Especially against Mystery Knight. Alright, that's it for Illustrial. So I went ahead and moved in and attacked with Freya. This is actually going to be a little bit painful because when counter-attacking, that's where Albedo shines for damage. But with the fixed damage, I'm bypassing all of her defenses. As you can see, my Shalinka is pretty tanky. Especially when she's isolated, because she reduces damage even further. Alright. Use Purifying Javelin to get the first kill. Trigger the Sylphrez. There we go. Now I'm going to move up and re-heal. Alright, my opponent does Thunder Zone at this point. So I was like, okay, whatever. All my guys are spears. Went ahead to Purifying Javelin here. This will finish off Albedo. And this will be her second attack, which means she gets an extra action. And at this point, my opponent would have immediately gave up, because I would have taken out their Farrakha next, and then Freya would have been able to take out their Mystery Knight. So there you go. So I won 2 out of the 5 matches, which puts me in Silver 3. Better than I expected overall. Honestly, I expected worse, but also I did have enough of a mind to actually change my team formation when it stopped working, because it just wasn't enough. I didn't have enough threats to make things happen, and I needed more mobility in the box in general. So this is probably what I'm going to stick with for a little bit longer and see how it plays out. Like I said, ever since I switched to this, I've been winning matches. Of course, the opponents I've been playing with have been kind of weird. So it is what it is. As usual, I tend to do tons of matches on the first week because I want to try to get to Gold 3. Last season, I kind of tried to spread it out a bit, but I found that to be more stressful. So this week, I'm just gonna crunch and go through as many matches as possible to get to Gold 3. Possibly on day 2, I may be able to get SP Freya, but it's pretty unlikely. Anyway, I'll go ahead and call it here. As always, like I said, these first few matches, even though I'm going to be spreading the videos out week by week, it's probably all going to be on similar days. So yeah, I'm the Prestige. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex season some number. What number are we? 6? Looks like 6. All right, season 6. See you guys next time.